All right, we are looking at the half-angle identities. And so these can be a little intimidating. Stick with me, they're not too bad. You get a little practice, like anything. Find the exact value for the sine of 22.5 degrees. Now, this is a half-angle example, so obviously we're going to use half-angle identities. But how would you know otherwise? If they give you some angle here, sine of 22.5, here's what to look for. If I doubled that 22.5, it's 45 degrees. Hey, that's on my unit circle. So if you double the angle they give you and it's on the unit circle, then half angle is a good way to go. So let me just reiterate that, okay? Kind of drive that home. Let me get my pen up here. And so if I said, hey, my theta over 2 equals 22.5 degrees, right? So my half angle, well, if I multiplied my 2 up here, then theta would equal 2 times 22.5 or 45 degrees. So kind of keep that in mind. So this notation is sometimes confusing. Theta divided by 2 and then just a theta here. Well, again, whatever they give you, like sine of 22.5. So 22.5 is theta divided by 2. That makes theta 45, which is pretty straightforward. Okay, so a couple things here. We're going to use this formula. How do I know if it's plus or minus? This is something we get hung up on. It can only be one of those. It can't be both. Well, what I've circled here is the key. The signs depend on the quadrant in which your half angle lies. So let's think about it. Sine of 22.5. Well, which quadrant's 22.5 degrees in? Well, of course, it's the first quadrant, and it's going to be positive. So this sine of 22.5 degrees has got to be a positive number. And so I'm going to use the positive case. So let's set this up. So sine of 22.5 degrees equals the square root of 1 minus cosine 45 degrees all over 2. Notice what I did there? Cosine 45. So my theta divided by 2, there's my theta. Now let's substitute in, and then need a little bit of simplification with these. So 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. Now, do you know where that root 2 over 2 came from? It's the cosine of 45. Just go to your unit circle, right? So now let's simplify that. Let me come down here. If we get a common denominator, this is all under the radical. If I get a common denominator, I'd have 2 minus root 2 over 2 all over 2, okay? And then you could combine those. So I've got square root of 2 minus root 2 all over 4, which the square root of 4 is just 2. So I can simplify it down, and there is my final answer, okay? So a little bit of simplification there, and you could go check that, right? Do sine 22.5 in your calculator and do this number and see if they aren't the same number. This is the exact value though. Notice these formulas are very, very close to each other. The only difference for cosine, of course, the quadrant's going to determine positive or negative, but plus, that's the only difference for those two formulas. Tangent got a little bit more going on, of course.